March 22nd, 2025, Allen Park, Michigan. The PBA World Championship. EJ Tackett stands on the approach, ball in hand, facing Jason Belmonte in the championship match. Belmonte at the time is widely considered the greatest bowler of the modern era, possibly ever. And Tackett, he's trying to do something only two other people in PBA history have accomplished: three-peat the World Championship. The match goes all the way down to the final frame. Tackett needs just 2 strikes to win. Same situation he faced when he beat Belmo for this title in 2023. Same pressure, same stakes. 2 perfect strikes. 242 to 222. And with that, EJ has edged eerily close to having one of the greatest seasons, if not careers, in PBA history. He might not be leading by titles, not by championships, but he is leading by sheer dominance. 27 PBA Tour titles, 7 major championships, 4 Player of the Year awards, a triple crown, and now a three-peat that puts him in a club with 2 of the greatest to ever do it, Earl Anthony and Belmonte himself. At 33 years old, this kid from Huntington, Indiana, has conquered just about every facet of professional bowling. But the story of how he got there, that's what we're really here to talk about. But before we can jump into that, I'm going to have to ask you to subscribe. We're getting pretty close to 10K, and I'm hoping to hit it before the end of the year. But without further ado, let's get right back into it. Before we dive into the championships and titles, you need to understand what makes EJ Tackett so different. In professional bowling, he is oftentimes referred to as the unicorn. And once you see what he does, you'll understand why. Tackett bowls right-handed with a one-handed thumb-in delivery. Conventional enough, right? Here's the thing. His rev rate sits around 550. That's comparable to what two-handed bowlers do. Guys who whip the ball and create massive hook potential. The difference? Tackett does it with just one hand. In an era dominated by two-handed bowling, Tackett has figured out how to compete at the very highest level using a smooth yet powerful technique. He's bridging the classical era and the power era all at once, generating modern power with classic form. His physical stature makes it even more remarkable. At a mere 5'7" and a small athletic build, he doesn't exactly fit into the mold of a power player. But what he lacks in size, he compensates for with precision, timing, and an almost supernatural ability to read the lane. Watch him bowl, and it looks almost effortless. After Tackett won the 2024 Player of the Year for his second time in a row, he said this: "Everything has clicked together. I've been able to make the right moves at the right time, maybe a little bit quicker than most. When you can move right a frame or 2 quicker, that adds up." His ability to process information in double time and adjust before anyone realizes there's a transition is a skill that separates the good PBA bowlers from the GOATs. And that's only part of what's made Tackett one of the most dominant forces in modern bowling. But to understand his modern achievements, we have to go back to his small-town roots. Bluffington, Indiana. His father, Ed Tackett Sr., had been a professional bowler himself, grinding it out on the regional tours through the 80s and 90s before settling into factory work and eventually buying Oak Lanes in Huntington. Ed saw something special in his son early on, something worth cultivating. Jumping ahead, by sophomore year at Huntington North, EJ had already won the state high school individual bowling championship. The talent was obvious, the dedication was there, and his father knew exactly how to develop both. But before bowling became his sole focus, there was a detour, and a talented one at that. EJ was also a serious golfer, good enough to earn Indiana Junior Golf Player of the Year honors in 2010 and a scholarship to Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne. For a while, the path seemed split in 2 directions. While he liked bowling, he gave college and golf a real shot. But standing on the driving ranges with future PGA stars, Tackett realized something important. Golf had plenty of those guys, but bowling had room for someone like him. And at the age of 19, he made the choice that would forever define his life. He walked away from golf and went all in on bowling. Tackett joined the PBA Tour in 2012. The transition from promising young talent to professional competitor is where most careers either take off or burn out. Tackett made sure everyone knew which category he belonged to. In the 2012-2013 season, He entered 16 events and finished in the cash in 10 of them. And he took home the Harry Golden PBA Rookie of the Year award by an overwhelming margin. When asked about it, Tackett said something that revealed his mindset. "I wasn't surprised because of the year that I had, but winning by such a huge margin in voting did surprise me. But knowing you could compete and actually win are completely different animals." For 3 years, Tackett made championship round after championship round, but couldn't close the deal. 4 televised appearances and 0 titles. He qualified as the top seed for the 2015 World Championship, and lost it all in the final to Gary Faulkner Jr. But looking back at PBA history, every champion had that moment where they had to figure out how to win. For Tackett, that breakthrough came on June 28, 2015, at the PBA Extra Frame Lovelock Southwest Open. First career title, relief, validation at last. But in 2016, everything clicked. In 2016, he had 4 titles, including his first major championship at the PBA Worlds. At 24 years old, EJ Tackett became the Chris Schenkel PBA Player of the Year, but Player of the Year did more than just validate his talent. Winning that major championship cemented his place among bowling's elite before his 25th birthday. He'd arrived, and he'd arrived with force. And then he did it again. In 2017, he further proved that it wasn't a fluke. 4 more titles, including his second major at the PBA TOC. Tackett finished runner-up for Player of the Year to Jason Belmonte, who was, at the time at least, making his case for being the greatest bowler of all time. Being second to Belmonte wasn't really a loss. It was motivation to Tackett, and he worked harder than anyone else for the next few years. After 3 more wins in 2018, another runner-up for Player of the Year award, the pattern was clear. Tackett could win. He could win often, and he was getting better. But then came a dark time. From 2019 through 2022, something changed. Tackett remained competitive, making championship rounds, earning top 10s in majors, winning a couple titles here and there. But here's the dominance that he had shown from 2016 to 2018, it seemed to have plateaued. He'd make deep runs, qualify as top seed, and then falter when it mattered most. It all became clear at the 2022 US Open, which was one of the most painful examples. Tackett entered the championship match as the number 1 seed after a historic qualifying performance. In the title match against Anthony Simonson, he had lost 232 to 165. Not even close. Every elite athlete faces these stretches. The shots that used to work suddenly don't. The confidence that carried them from the top starts to fracture. Some guys can never recover. They become former champions, guys who live in the shadows, the guys who just want to live out the moment again. Watching Tackett during these years, you had to wonder, was this it? Had Tackett already peaked so young? Or will he become great again? Will he find his way out of this slump? Will this really be his legacy? It's already so great, but seeing it end here just feels wrong. Most guys might give up here. Luckily, EJ Tackett isn't most guys. February 2023, the US Open, Royal Pin Woodland in Indianapolis, Indiana. EJ Tackett finds himself in the title match, facing Kyle Troup. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Win, and Tackett would claim his 3rd career major, but more importantly, he'd complete the Triple Crown, winning the US Open, PBA World Champion, and the TOC, a feat that merely 8 other bowlers in PBA history had accomplished. All he needed was a strike and 8 pins in the 10th frame to win it all. 2 strikes, a green jacket, and $100,000 later, he had just claimed the Triple Crown. But here's what made that moment even sweeter. He had finally won a PBA Tour victory in his home state of Indiana. After all the miles traveled, all the championships won in areas across the country, he'd brought one home, and in doing so, answered every question raised during those down years. But that US Open wasn't only the completion of the Triple Crown, it ignited the fuse for EJ Tackett's success. In 2023, Tackett showed us a very different version of himself. No longer in a second place mindset, he was totally dominant. He won 3 of the first 5 events this season, led the TOC qualifying wire to wire, and only lost the title match to Belmonte. He then went on to the World Series of Bowling and did something truly special. Tackett claimed his 20th career title at the PBA Championship, defeating BJ Moore 259 to 178. 20 whole titles, tied with Tommy Jones, a bowler that Tackett had idolized growing up. It's crazy to etch your name next to guys that are iconic to the sport. People that I grew up watching. But Tackett wasn't done. Later in that same World Series, he claimed yet another PBA World Championship, defeating Jason Belmonte in the championship match that came down to yet another 10th frame. Although he only had 4 titles that year, considering the titles involved, made the season one of his greatest. Having 2 majors is not a bad season at all. And then, the 2024 season was something to behold. He won 2 more titles in 2024, including his 2nd consecutive PBA World Championship, becoming just the 7th player ever to accomplish that feat. He defended his title and became the 2nd highest average in PBA history at 229.37, a mere 0.04 from Belmonte's record. Now Tackett had his 3rd ever Player of the Year, and now he had back-to-back. And then, in 2025, came the chance to make history. Tackett made every single championship round during the 2025 World Series of Bowling, a feat that no bowler had accomplished since Sean Rash in 2011. And now, he had the chance to do something only 3 players in PBA history had ever done: three-peat the World Championship. The match came down to a total repeat as 2023, facing yet another Belmonte in the World Championship. Tackett delivered 2 perfect strikes, 242 to 222, his 3rd consecutive World Championship, his 7th career major, and his 27th PBA Tour title. I watched Jason do it a few years ago, win 3 in a row, Tackett said afterwards. I also watched the other Jason win 3 TOCs in a row. I never thought it was feasible to do it. I thought those guys were just so much better than everyone else that no one else could do it. I'm in shock and disbelief. But he'd done it, and in doing so, he'd established himself as one of the sport's all-time greats, still in the middle of his prime. But there was more to the man behind the titles. Success in professional sports can be isolating. The travel, the pressure, it all takes a toll. But Tackett built something that sustains far beyond the lanes. In 2019, he married his wife, Natalie Goodman, herself a state champion in high school. In December 2023, they welcomed their son, Eddie Dean Tackett III, also known as Trip, and when Tackett defended his World Championship in 2024, his wife and infant son were there to see it. The biggest thing for me was winning the PBA World Championship and having Natalie and Trip there, Tackett reflected. It was an amazing feeling to be able to share that moment with our child. Everything else doesn't mean as much anymore. He's the most important thing. That perspective, understanding that bowling is what he does and not who he is, might be the secret to his longevity. He avoids chasing glory for the sake of glory. He's building a legacy on and off the lanes. Furthermore, Tackett and his wife own and operate Easy Bowl, a bowling center that serves both as a business venture and a training facility. His brother Zach competes on the PBA Tour and lives with epilepsy, inspiring EJ and Natalie to raise money and awareness for the condition. And when he needs to step away from the noise, Tackett finds himself at peace on a lawnmower at his property in Indiana. There, with nobody watching, he lets himself reflect. Sometimes you're out there and it just kinda hits you, he said. I've had all this success so far, 27 titles, 7 major championships, 7 Player of the Year awards. It's crazy, it's been a crazy ride. At 33 years old, EJ Tackett has already accomplished enough to guarantee his place in the PBA Hall of Fame. But champions are never satisfied with just enough. He's 10th all-time in PBA Tour titles with 27. He's tied 6th with Norm Duke for all-time major championships with 7. He's tied 5th all-time in Player of the Year awards with 4, and he said he plans to compete for 20 years total, maybe even longer. If his current trajectory continues, he's on pace to challenge some of bowling's most sacred records. Walter Ray's title record, perhaps. Walter and Belmonte's shared 7 Player of the Year awards and 15 major championships from Belmo could be on the line. But here's what matters more than any statistical projection. EJ has fundamentally changed about how we think about the one-handed bowling in the modern era. In a sport that seemed to be trending irreversibly towards two-handed dominance, he's proven that traditional technique and power can compete and defeat the new generation's approach, and quite easily at that. The title of the documentary poses EJ as the man who conquered the PBA. That might seem premature after all. He's still competing, still chasing titles, still writing his story. But conquest doesn't mean that you've won everything. It means you establish dominance. It means when people talk about the best in the world at what you do, your name comes up in every conversation. It means you've climbed every mountain the sport has to offer and planted your flag at the summit. Tackett, safe to say, has done that. Triple Crown winner, multiple-time major champion, 4-time Player of the Year, historic three-peat, 27 titles and counting, missing just one major to complete all of them. He's conquered all of it, not by being the biggest, the strongest, but by the smartest, the most adaptable, and the most relentlessly committed to improvement. Tackett has proven that small-town kids can become world champions, that setbacks aren't ending, just chapters in a longer story, that physical size doesn't determine greatness. The greatest athletes aren't always the ones with the most natural talent, but the ones that combine talent with relentless improvement, self-awareness, and mental toughness. The story isn't over. There are more titles to win, more records to chase, more history to write, but even if Tackett never wins another tournament, which is highly unlikely, his legacy is secure. He's the unicorn, the small-town kid who became a giant, the champion who lost his way and found it again, and a father who understands what actually matters. And that is how EJ Tackett conquered the PBA. Thank you guys so much for making it through the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a comment and maybe like and subscribe if you're into that kind of thing. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know if I missed anything, if I made any factual mistakes. The script is pretty long, so chances are I probably misspoke at some point, but let me know if I did. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.